What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time in Matthew Spinauer and Theo Ash. We have a great episode planned for you all today. Going to talk about Donovan Mitchell going to my Cleveland Cavaliers, future NBA Finals champions. We're going to talk about college football being back. We have football, baby, and we have college football. And next week we'll have the NFL season, and it's super exciting. And then we're going to finish things off, a rank it of the 4 seasons. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. Football's back. College football, the best type of football. We're up. We're finally into sports season talking about real things on the podcast. This is big.
This is big.
Yes, yeah. We actually don't have to make up and really rack our brains in the meetings for things to talk about. The news stories just come to us now. Right. Donovan Mitchell gets traded. Fantastic. We don't have to talk about what if Donovan Mitchell gets traded. You know,
I don't have to tweet out what if every
what if what ifs are over. We can just talk about what actually is happening, and that makes our job so much easier and more fun.
It's more fun. It's more fun too. I like it better this way. But just a reminder to everyone, go follow us on Instagram at StayHotBW. We're going to be posting some really cool graphics and stuff there. Any type of announcements and stuff you'll be able to find on the Instagram as well. But it's at StayHotBW, like Blue Wire BW, at StayHotBW. Let's talk about Donovan Mitchell, man. He's going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are finals contenders now, right? Like this, like I don't have to I'm not just talking out of my ass. I'm right about this.
The one thing that makes me a little weirded out about them is that, like, as far as how good their best player is, it's not, a finals team level.
Right.
Yet, like, how many teams have won a final series without, like, a top 5 player? Very few.
Yeah.
But, dude, I love this move for them. They are stacked.
Yeah.
I think Donovan Mitchell is a little underrated right now. I think Garland is him. I think Mobley. If the big thing is that if Mobley develops an offensive game, if he becomes a superstar, there's no way they don't win a finals. There's no way they don't win it all at some point. Yeah. They have to. And the thing is that, like, they've made this move, and Mitchell's 25 right now. So they've got years and years and years to figure it out. In 5 years, they could have this same core all together, right?
Yep.
But I honestly think that they still have a good bench now too. So I really like what they've done.
Yeah, I think that they're a finals contender in the sense that they're a contender to get there, right? Like, I think they can be a Celtics tier team. I think they can be a Suns tier team. They might lose to the Steph Currys and Giannis's of the world, like Matt said. But this is a team with the potential to have a top 5 or a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, I think, with some depth in the bench. So they're really well-rounded. Obviously, like, Garland is someone who I felt pretty confident in as a scorer already. And now you're bringing in Donovan Mitchell, who, those playoff games still stick in my mind. And I get that they were in the bubble, and I get that some people may not count him, and we haven't seen him in a while. But I remember that time where he was just dropping 50 a night in the playoffs, like all 3 levels. He can score at an elite level with elite efficiency. And I think the chemistry in Utah with Rudy Gobert definitely hit a little bit of a wall. And I think, like, team chemistry and buy-in was at an all-time low this year. So when you look at what Donovan Mitchell has done recently, and maybe you want to say, oh, he's not quite at a tier like a Devin Booker, or a tier like in a Kyrie Irving, or I think he's in the tier with those guys as a guard. I think he's, like, just as good as Devin Booker. He's just as good as in that he can play in that, like, 10 to 15 range in terms of a top player. I think that he's got that kind of potential if he's really bought in. And I'm willing to bet that once he's out of Utah, you're going to see that a little bit more on this young team. That should be exciting. So, yeah, I really like this for the Cavs. This creates a long window. And even if you don't win a final in that window, it's better to have a really long window of great basketball in your city than it is to, not. So, yeah, I really like what they can be. yeah, it all depends on if Mobley can become like a Tim Duncan or something like that. Then we're all good. Now, obviously, that's a huge
Mobley becoming Tim
reach,
Duncan, like.
But I mean, he's already. I mean, is there a world where he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? Yes. Is there a world where he develops is one of the more efficient offensive players in the game as well? Yes. If he can hit his ceiling in both of those aspects, you're talking about a potential top 10 player. You know,
I mean, the Cavs had a fantastic defense last year with Mobley and Jared Allen down inside. And, with the loss of Jared Allen, that's really what kind of prevented them from being a true playoff team. You add Donovan Mitchell to that mix, man, they're so damn good.
The thing that worries me a little bit about them is maybe I think having Garland and Mitchell defensively out there at the same time is a little weak.
Yeah.
But if you were going to make up for that, Mobley and Allen is probably the way to go. I don't know, dude.
That's about as good as you can get.
I didn't think about this move for them that strongly. I didn't realize the Cavs were such big players for it, but I think it totally makes sense. They gave up a lot of picks, but here's the one thing I don't love about this for the Jazz. I think a lot of times when you trade those unprotected far into the future picks, no one knows what they're going to be. In fact, those Nets picks that the Rockets have way far in the future, those probably project to be pretty good. The Nets will probably implode before they get through all those picks. I don't feel like that's the case for these unprotected Cavs picks. They project to be great 5 years from now. I mean, maybe that's hard to project that far in the future, but I wonder if the Cavs being really good means that those could be a lot of later picks, even though they are unprotected.
Yeah.
But Sexton to the Jazz
the Cavs.
Is cool. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it comes down for the Jazz, I mean, can they hit on their own picks? Because they project to be pretty bad, right? And that is probably where these high picks are going to come from. And if they could just hit on those, I mean, I think they're in good shape. I think it just comes down to their scouting because the amount of role players and first round picks that they have gotten from trading and moving Gobert and Mitchell, it's 7 first round picks and 10 role players. So if you can hit on those first picks and get someone good and get even a borderline all-star, a LaMelo tier, something like that, all of a sudden things are your rebuild is going really well.
Right.
All it takes is just hitting on those their own picks and they're in good shape. So I don't hate it for them. They've gotten a lot. They just, if they draft bad, it'll be bad. That's what it comes down to in every blow up, right? You got to hit on the young players. So
that was going to be the discussion is if the Cavs maybe gave up a little too much, right? I mean, the Jazz are projecting they have 9 first-round picks in the next 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. 3 in next year's draft alone, right?
It's a good draft to be bad for. They've set themselves up really well. And the thing is, I don't even think they're close to done. They have a bunch of guys on their team. I'm there's no reason for them to be playing with the Jazz. And the thing about Danny Ainge is that he's not going to 1 foot in the store, 1 foot in the store type deal this one. He's going to they're going to be bad. They're going to be as bad as they can. They're not going to have 40-year-old Mike Conley. He's not going to be on that team. And maybe some of them it takes till the deadline, but
got to do what you got to
do. I like what the Jazz have done. This is the way you do it.
Do you think the Cavs gave up too much, or do you think it's if you're good, it's worth it?
It's worth it. Yeah. It's worth it because this move puts them right there. Their core is good enough. Now, it's a little bit different because maybe you're they might be better 3 years from now than they are now.
Okay.
Just because of Mobley's development and Garland's development. But I think this core is good enough to win a title. And I think that's the big benchmark for moves like these. The only thing is, can they put together a bench? And that's definitely going to be a challenge without, you don't have as many assets. You're going to be paying these guys a lot. But as of right now, they've got a bench.
Yeah. And if you have this kind of high-level talent on your team, you're now a prime spot to go play with to try and win a title.
Oh, you're a prime spot. What do they have? 2 guards and 2 bigs and... Well, let's just say if 3 years from now there was some opening at small forward, I'm sure there's a kid from around there who would want to be going back there. I like it.
Do you think
I like this for the Cavs?
Do you think the Knicks offer was better? Because it was leaked that they offered, I think, 3 unprotected firsts, Obi Toppin, and who else was it?
I think it was Barrett. No,
I think it may have been RJ Barrett.
I don't get that move. I mean, if you're the Knicks, you have to believe that RJ Barrett is like the guy a little bit here. I mean, if you have no picks and Barrett's gone and it's just like Mitchell and the team you've got now, like the ceiling on that is nothing. So if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm happy we didn't do that. I don't know. I think
Barrett,
Obi Toppin showed
Mitchell,
some promise.
Robinson, and 3. Yeah.
Robinson,
It's
I feel
Barrett,
like doesn't do
Obi,
anything for you if you're the Jazz.
Yeah.
You don't care about Robinson. He's a second contract guy. I don't know, dude. It's like your rebuild is so far into the future that players are really, really hard for you to work into that rebuild. I guess I got Colin Sexton, but I'd say no. I like the Cavs offer better. I do see that. Okay, Robinson and Toppin and RJ Barrett. Honestly, you know what the big problem with that deal is? Makes you too good.
What is the big problem?
Might make you a little bit. You might win just a few too many games. Markkanen and Colin Sexton. Although I'll tell you this, Colin Sexton's going to put up crazy numbers this year, I think.
Colin Sexton's legit good. He's going to
score some points.
Over the was it the Jalen Brunson deal, and Colin Sexton's like just as good as him. Like, I don't know.
Also, some of the Knicks' first round draft picks are fake, like weirdo first rounders. And I don't know if those were the ones the Knicks offered, but it is worth keeping in mind that first round picks, in my mind, become more valuable like the farther they are into the future and if they're unprotected. So I think that also some of these Cavs picks, if they're a first 7 years from now, who knows what that could be. Right. So I like the offer that the Jazz accepted.
Fair enough. Yeah, it makes the Cavs really competitive. But if you want to be competitive, why don't you go ahead and join the home of competition over at Run Your Pool, bringing sports fans and their social circles together to compete, connect, and make every single game matter just a little bit more. Run Your Pool offers every game type under the sun, from Pick'em and Survivor to fantasy pools. It's your one-stop shop for sports gaming with customizable features that you don't get anywhere else. You know how we do the Stay Hot shots? The Stay Hot locks. You guys know how we do the Stay Hot locks? Well, now you can effectively do the Stay Hot locks with us and prove that you know ball better than Stay Hot. We've teamed up with Run Your Pool to host a Survivor pool that will run all season long for us and our listeners, and we're going to be giving you guys an opportunity to prove that you know ball better than Stay Hot. How to play? It's simple. Go ahead and join the pool via the link in the description or at play.runyourpool.com/stayhot. Make sure you sign up and make your picks. But why not make it interesting, right? Run Your Pool will be giving out $300 in cash prizes to the winners. So if you manage to beat us, don't worry, you won't be walking away empty-handed. So make sure to join today at play.runyourpool/stayhot. Again, that's play.runyourpool.com/stayhot, or just check the link in the description. Do you want to take a look at the East and just like how this playoff could potentially stack up? Because man, it's like, okay, it's just looking at last year, Heat, Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, Raptors, Bulls, right? Those were the 6 playoff teams. Then play-in was Nets, Hawks, Cavs, Hornets. Someone has to miss, right?
Well,
and then if you include the Knicks at the bottom.
Here is, in my opinion, the list of 8 teams where it would be like, oh my God, what happened if they missed in the East?
Okay.
The Heat, the Celtics, the Bucks, the 76ers, the Raptors, the Nets, the Hawks, and the Cavs.
Okay.
There's your 8, in my opinion. But that leaves out the Bulls. 3 of these teams will miss the playoffs. And one of the teams on the list is the Hornets. Yeah, dude. They're not making the playoffs, man. We don't.
Tough.
They're not winning 50 games next year.
No, they're not winning 50 games next year. Hopefully they win 5. I mean, they need to tank, and they're not.
Damn.
We're not getting into the Hornets. They aren't making the playoffs. But that's the teams off the top of my head I would pick. And I think the interesting thing about that is like, okay, Knicks, Hornets probably playing teams are fighting for the plans, and that would mark them as not winning. But that would have the Bulls looking on the outside. And they're a team that's gone relatively all in And if they only get one playoff win out of that, I think it's pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the Raptors as maybe the team without, the high-end star power. And obviously they were a team that came on strong at the end of last year, avoided the play-in, and was actually the 5th seed. But they're a team, like, are they going to finish 4 seeds ahead of the Cleveland Cavaliers now? Like, or the Hawks with DeJounte Murray, or the Nets with all their star power hopefully back. I could see a world where maybe the Raptors just don't have the horses to keep up in a perfect world for everyone else, but it's not going to be a perfect world for everyone else, and they've got the depth, and there's like maybe not. I trust them to stay a little healthier than I trust like the Nets to stay, or even like Embiid and the 76ers. But they're a team I could maybe see, and they were a team I was high on too, so maybe I shouldn't change my mind here, but I would have been really high on them if they would have added some more star power, but after they didn't, and maybe it's stupid to write them off because it's the same deal as last year, but they're a team that maybe I could see on the outside looking in.
I would say, then it would be between them and the Bulls, right? And what's already making me nervous about the Bulls is like, okay, you were the 6th seed last year. You had DeMar DeRozan playing like the best basketball of his life.
Yeah.
Vucevic didn't look good, and Lonzo is not going to be ready for the start of the season. His knee is still messed up. And that, I think, it's like you're already down a guy. It's they're one injury. I mean, everyone's one injury away from disaster, but I don't know. I don't trust the Bulls. I don't think I think the Raptors, they don't have that star power, but it's like they do have, Gary Trent, and they've got Van Vliet, and they've got, Siakam. Like they've got some guys who can go and get baskets, just maybe not like the super, super, super high level guys. And I think they're just so strong defensively that I think they'll be okay. They have a lot of good defensive pieces. So, and Nick Nurse is a wonderful coach.
Nick Nurse knows what's good. Yeah.
Wonderful coach.
Very good. Very good.
I'm giving him benefit.
I guess the other thing, you could also put him maybe ahead of the Hawks, and you could say maybe DeJounte Murray doesn't like totally move
I can see that.
Yeah.
But
I could see a world where
playoffs see it. I don't got it in me to say that.
Right. I just think the Cavs are very easily a top 6 seed now, which moves teams down to the play-ins. So, yeah, the Hawks and Raptors.
If you had to predict the top 6, or we'll say the top 6.
Top 6
right now.
I'd go Heat, Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, Nets, Cavs in no order.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's your order? Like Cavs at 6? Damn.
I was just reading them as the seeding was last year.
Before the NBA season starts, I'll have this totally nailed down. I could say I'm also a little bit worried about the Heat, maybe. I mean, we've said on this podcast before, if you don't get better, you get worse. And Jimmy Butler is really getting up there in age and didn't shoot well in the regular season last year. And people had tons of question marks like around that offense last year. And then they ended up proving everybody wrong in the playoffs. And Jimmy Butler,
I was about to say, he was
Jordan's son.
Awesome in the playoffs.
Yeah, he looked like the lost son of Michael Jordan again in the playoffs. But when everyone else, like when the Celtics get a guy, like when everyone else has kind of gotten these big names, not everyone, but the Celtics added some real talent this offseason. The Cavs, the Hawks, the Nets, like a lot of these teams. And the Heat were always in the conversation for these big names, but didn't end up getting any. It is a little bit of an aging roster with Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler being, depended upon. But they're a team I could maybe see falling from that 1 seed, and I might project that. But do I see them falling like into the play-ins? Probably not. But yeah, I agree with Matt where Heat, Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, Cavs, Nets are the smart 6 to bet on as you avoid the play-in 6 in the best on paper. So,
but I will say that I think even the Raptors are still competitive for that 6th seed. The Nets' health, I think, is very, very
extremely
questionable.
I do not trust the Nets to stay healthy at all. I'm going to lean for the Hawks to sneak into that 6th spot.
I can see it, man.
What the hell?
That's just
you love Trae Young.
You just like picking the Hawks to win things. like their first round victory over the Heat that was supposed to happen in last year's playoffs.
Hey, it's okay. It'll happen this year. Hawks, Cavs, Eastern Conference Finals. You heard it here first.
It just feels like the NBA is so good right now. How many good teams are there? It's ridiculous, dude.
And there's probably there's probably 9 in each conference that you could realistically see making a deep playoff run, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be really exciting. It's another year. We avoided a super team. Another year where we avoided a stacked team where we know who's going to win before the league even starts. And that's always good. Every year where you don't have one of those dudes or one of those teams is a good one. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Well, we're wondering the odds that the Cavs make the playoffs. Odds Trader is sponsoring today's episode. It is brought to you by Odds Trader, and with them, we've got play-by-play updates, live scores, and bet tracking. Odds Tracker is the place to go for all of this. They've got the best price on every game and sign-up offers from multiple sports books. Plus, they have player statistics, key game stats, and even projected game day weather. You can use their bet tracker to keep records of all your games and betting activity. OddsTrader.com is the #1 site for all your game day bets. To begin your handicapping journey, make sure to go to oddstrader.com/bluewire. OddsTrader is the beginning of all your best bets for all sports. Download from the App Store today. All right.
Well, we have 2 major things to talk about in college football. Obviously, the games, which we'll get to in a minute. But the college football playoff expansion is official. There will be 12 teams in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, like you said in the group chat, you fought the good fight. You did.
I fought the good fight for as long as I could.
You did. But it's here, and everyone seems to be happy about it. But one of these days, we're going to see a 4-loss team in the playoffs, and they're going to get. It's
going to be when people realize that this is going to mean more SEC teams. All of a sudden, it's going to be a disaster. It's how could they possibly let this school in? I mean, dude, the 5th ranked team last year was Notre Dame, who had no ranked wins and no conference championship. Ohio State lost 2 of the 3 big games they played. Why would they be playing for the national title? People say it's more like high level important football. It's not, because you're taking away the importance of the regular season and adding it to the playoffs. And the thing is that you're putting so much pressure on those playoff games to be good ones. Whereas this last week, first week of college football, right? A lot of crappy games, but it doesn't matter because there's 30 games going on at once, and they're all pretty high stakes because of the way that college football is structured right now, and particularly more so in the BCS. So I just watch the ones that are actually good and the ones that my teams are playing. But now you're going to have all of it, only a couple rounds of the playoffs, and you're going to be forced to sit there and watch Oregon, Georgia, and it's going to be a terrible game, and it's not going to fix parity the way people think it will. And high stakes regular season is what makes college football so great. It's not the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Watching OSU versus Notre Dame, which we'll get to, if Notre Dame lost that, or if Ohio State lost that game versus Notre Dame, their season would be on the ropes, and that makes that game that much more intriguing. But with 12 teams, Ohio State can certainly figure it out and run the table the rest of the way, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter at all. So yeah, every big game, those 2 versus 5, 3 versus 11 games being essentially playoff games scattered throughout the year, yes, it's not a playoff game in the sense that there's a bracket and they move through the bracket, but scattered throughout the year, there are basically winner go home games. And so now you're just kind of moving them to the end.
Right.
And I guess that's fine because it's still a winner go home game, but you're not really creating more drama because you're just kind of moving when things happen.
There's just so many things that this does not give worse teams a better shot to win the national title. Getting to the playoffs, it means less if there are more teams. So now if you're a great team, it used to be, think about 2010 Auburn, right? They were, I mean, what made their run possible is that they could win out in the regular season. And if they went on a Cinderella run in the regular season, they could get there and they just needed one more win to win the national title. Now, if a team goes on a Cinderella run in the regular season, great. Go win 4 more. It's not going to happen. These little teams, sure, they can win 1 game or 2 games, like maybe in a 14 playoff, but even in a 14 playoff, we haven't really seen it happen outside of uber talented 2014 Ohio State.
That's the only
But now,
one.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, that's these teams are going to have no hope of like, okay, maybe if everything goes right against Georgia, we somehow win. But then we have to play Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson. It's like, well, they're not going to win all those games.
Yeah.
It's too much. And now, I mean, like, what the hell would have to happen for Alabama not to make the playoffs? And I don't hate Alabama, but like, they could lose all of their major games and still make it. They could have 3 losses. Their games aren't going to matter. What makes people say, well, 90% of the regular season games end up being terrible. And it's like, you're kind of right. It's not that high. You're kind of right. But what makes them so interesting is that those 1 upsets do matter. Now there's no stakes at all. Who cares?
Right. Now 90% of the games are still going to be horrible, but now like
horrible blowouts. It's just that the ones that aren't also won't matter for the major teams. Right. It's so much more. And people think it's going to fix recruiting. It won't, dude. Transfer rules and the NIL is so much more powerful than, hey, we can make the playoffs. And hopefully the recruits don't figure out that doesn't actually mean we're competing for the national title. I mean, what would this hypothetical recruit have to possibly think for that to like switch them over to Iowa?
It's like last year. It's like Utah's like, I mean, we're the 12 seed, 4-loss Utah. It's like, cool. Wait till you play Michigan. It's like, okay, yeah, you're getting destroyed by Aiden Hutchinson every play, like
right. And it's like
Utah was nice last year. Don't disrespect. Respect the Pac-12. Respect the Pac-12. Please.
Man, no Pac-12 respect.
We only have like 2 years left, man. Can you please respect? It's like the Pac-12 only has got a little. It's like a dying man on his deathbed, and you tell him that he didn't do some things right in his life. Like, can we please respect the Pac-12 while it's still here?
Utah is so good.
They were last year.
But my big pet peeve, people say, well, now more teams have a chance. Your team already had a chance to win the national title. If you are a fan of a Power 5 team, an expanded playoffs does not all of a sudden give you a chance when you didn't have one before. If you weren't making the Final Four, it was because your team lost. And that's why they didn't make it there. And it's not acceptable for a team to lose and miss the playoffs. But if they lose and then make an expanded playoffs and then lose in those playoffs, then that's okay. That's their own fault. That's not giving them a chance. It's last thing. People give all these like reasons as to why they're making like the expanding the playoffs and why they need to do this. And the only reason why they're actually expanding it is because it will make them more money. That is it.
Yeah.
They do not give a shit about, oh, well, now Iowa could possibly.
No, it's
they
now.
Don't care.
It's now they can have 4 rounds of like. They can have like, I don't know, the Microsoft .NET Azure Bowl. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's not even that. It's the fact that I think like from when you look at the lowest common denominator, like the fact that there are multiple playoff games now makes like the playoff format easier to digest and makes each individual game. Because if you're not a big college football fan, like the Sugar Bowl with no actual national title on the line doesn't make much. It's kind of an abstract concept about what
they messed that up.
They didn't, but now they've got the very clear. It's just like every other playoff bracket. It's win or go home. I think it's going to draw more viewership. I do think that it makes more sense and creates more draw for like the average person, where it's like, oh, they're all doing a playoff, instead of, oh, this team is playing a bowl game, but it's a bowl game that it's the Pac-12 versus the Big Ten, and I think that kind of abstract idea and what you're winning kind of lost its shine when they switched to the 4.
Yep, when they switched to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they messed it up in 2 ways. When they made the playoffs, they made the bowl games mean less. And when they made so many bowl games Now, there's so many of them, it's not exclusive. But of course, I'm sure there were dudes saying when they kept adding more and more and more bowl games, hey, it's more football. How can you not like that? And now college football is worse because of it. I think, and the thing is if I think the parity will also be even worse in 12 teams. I think recruits, it's going to be harder for schools to fall off. It used to be in BCS, like you could lose 1 or 2 games and it crush your program. So it cycled through programs who like going high and low, and wasn't the same
State.
teams. Right. Wasn't the same team every year. Now it's like, it's so hard to miss, and it's so hard to have a bad season. It's so hard to look worse in the recruits' eyes, especially now that it's all money and then the transfer rules. I think playoffs have hurt parity more than they're going to help it.
No, it has. It has hurt it. I mean, I've mentioned before, like the disparity of how many different national champions we had during the BCS era, as opposed to, the original college football playoffs, and now it's going to be like the same 2 teams for like a decade. But
right.
That's okay.
You can go on about this forever. We can go
it's about happening, it forever.
And they'll expand it more when they get the chance because it'll make them more money.
That's okay.
It'll be a 2014 playoff,
but
in 15 years.
While college football is trying to make more money, we're trying to save you some money. Smooth Sack Summer is slowly coming to an end, fellas. And if you haven't been, going for the summer sun, it's not too late to sweep your sack for those pesky pubes. And as summer comes to an end, we enter fall. Keep your boys clean and fresh, just in time for Fresh Ball Fall. The leader in below the waist grooming is here to make sure that your pubes feel smoother than a beach ball and smell fresher than your girl's pumpkin spice. Start the new season the right way and join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. That's right. Could you have guessed that this was a Manscaped read? With this exclusive offer just for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to keep your sweet, sweet sack in check. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and hair nose trimmer, the ear and nose hair trimmer. That is such a tongue twister for me. Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Toner, performance boxer briefs, and of course a travel bag to hold all of your goodies. And did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? Whether you're hopping in the shower or hitting up the lake, this razor will devour even the strongest of pubes. Again, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. Again, that's 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. Keep things smooth and fresh. And as we say, sayonara to smooth ball summer. Enter Fresh Ball Fall. Now let's talk about college football games. Some actual.
I just want to say that
happened.
I just want to say whoever writes those Manscaped reads is our nation's greatest living poet. They've just got such a way with
that's
words.
A national hero in my eyes, man. Like, but the Ohio State Notre Dame game is kind of the big one that happened. And I was going into it thinking, oh, it's Notre Dame. They're notoriously mid. But they put up a decent fight for Ohio State, and by a decent fight, I mean they
never won a big game before. In my life, I have never. And every time, every single time they lose these big games. Granted, I don't know if they should have been ranked 5. I think this is a tough matchup for them, but.
Yeah, they did put up a decent fight in the first half, though. I was worried, like as an Ohio State fan, they're sweating a little bit.
I find Marcus Freeman is so much more likable than Kelly that it's not even funny. So yeah, they shouldn't have been ranked 5, but like if we look at what happened on the football field, I was really impressed with their tackling. Like I thought they played well. Like this shouldn't be a game where it's like, oh, Notre Dame always loses. Like they were, 18.5 point underdogs or something like that. And they played a decent game. They did play a decent game for them being Notre Dame, they were mixing up their coverages a lot earlier in the game. They had number 5 out there, like Cam Hart, I think his name was. And they just went at him like 5 times in a row, Ohio State. And they hit him with a defensive pass interference. He was beat and had to like desperately grab. And then they went after him again. And it was a long bomb that went it hit Marvin Harrison in the hands. It was an amazing pass by Stroud. And then Marvin Harrison couldn't quite come down with it. Then they picked on him again, and then he wanted to. I saw a tweet that was he wanted to be on House of Highlights, where it was an out route that he just totally tried to jump, but he didn't even get a finger on it. So then he was just out of position, and the receiver brought it into the end zone. So but they benched it after that. Yeah. They were playing good defense. After I didn't see much in number 5 the rest of that game. And then after that, I mean, they were really varying their coverages. I saw them dropping 8. I saw them dropping 9 guys and rushing 2. But they were also bringing some timely blitzes as well. It wasn't all just it wasn't like the Bengals in the Chiefs game where it was drop 8 every single play. But they were just mixing up a lot of stuff, and Stroud never was really comfortable throwing it downfield. They were tackling ferociously. That hit that knocked Smith-Njigba out of the game, that was a brutal hit and legal. And after Smith-Njigba was gone and Stroud couldn't quite hit the deep shots that he wanted, I mean, he was hitting these underneath passes, but Notre Dame was just doing such a good job tackling, and no one was breaking any tackles. There was a play, I think, on a 3rd down where number 2, their young receiver, there was zone coverage, so you got to settle down, and he just kept running and kind of ran himself out of the open pocket. So with Smith-Njigba out and the Notre Dame defense playing really fantastically, they were able to shut down Stroud in that offense, and they missed a kick, and it was only 7 points at halftime. And that Notre Dame offense, the quarterback, obviously it's rough. His first real game at Ohio State. It's loud. It's a tough atmosphere to be good right away.
110,000 people.
Right. It's rough
an
when that's
enormous
your
stadium.
But he couldn't create. They were something like 3 for 11 on 4th down or something. On 3rd down. That's the exact numbers. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but he couldn't do anything when Ohio State got them in that negative game script. But they were hanging with them. They had a deep shot that was kind of bobbled and caught. Their tight ends were really balling. Now I can't remember anybody's name. I have my notes on what happened in front of me, but I just wrote down 87 and stuff. Yeah. But their tight ends were really doing a good job bringing down any sort of questionable pass from the quarterback. They were scraping by, but in the first half, but then in the second half, Ohio State kind of was just we've got guys they don't have. They started running the football, and it's just hard to overcome that talent gap. So I thought Notre Dame played a good game. I really don't think they deserve all this slander for losing another big game, because they were overmatched.
Well, they always do.
Shouldn't have been expected to win. They were overmatched. They weren't expected to win that game. I did like what I saw from them a decent amount, at least from the defense. And when they play their softball schedule the rest of the year, I think they'll be pretty good. Yeah. So. Yeah, but, and Ohio State, I thought Ohio State with if Smith-Njigba comes back, I think they'll be fine too. With such a young receiver group, it was just tough for them to settle in against a defense that was really playing well. If you are going to be one of the people who say, well, they're fraudulent because they should have beat Notre Dame by more, maybe, but I think it'll be fine.
No, I mean, when you go into a game against a tough opponent, at the end of the day, Notre Dame's still a good team, right? This isn't Illinois, right?
But right. Even they're a top 25 team,
Right, they're a top 25 team. Your game plan is to get your best player, right, a first-round draft pick involved in the game, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. When he goes down, all of a sudden you're just trying to figure things out at that point, right? Especially when you have a lot of young guys there, it can be difficult to get that organized. So I give them credit for getting out of there.
And in the draft, when we look at Smith-Njigba, and inevitably the questions come about his athleticism and his size and all that, because they're going to come, because he's not that fast and his game is very nuanced. I think this is one of the games where it's even though it doesn't look like he's doing anything special some of the time, and he's just settling down in zones, and he's just catching a bunch of these underneath passes and making the first guy miss and picking things up, that really is a valuable skill set. And it really is, it doesn't look as sexy as mossing a guy and then running it, 20 yards down the sideline. But Smith and Jigba would have, I think, like, this game may not have even been close if Smith and Jigba was breaking tackles underneath, because they did not bother Stroud that much in terms of sacks. When they were rushing 4, I didn't notice much pressure getting there. So if he had a guy like Njigba to throw it down to instead of all these young guys, it could have been a much bigger margin of victory. And I thought Stroud, I thought when he was reading the field, he was a little bit late and a little bit off on some of these reads. But man, sometimes his accuracy just really, really jumps off the screen to me. And he hit some balls on the run, like bailing out, like about to run out of bounds and throwing at the last second, that were completed on the sideline, that were super special. So Stroud, I've got some questions about him as a prospect still. But man, the accuracy is legit. That's one thing where it's like, if he can put the ball in some windows that not a lot of guys can put the ball. So yeah, he's nice.
Yeah.
Matt,
yeah,
you're wearing your Cincinnati Bearcats hat.
I'm being a Brave fan. I went into the game being like, we lost more starters than pretty much any other team in college football. We're on the road with our toughest opponent week 1. If we get blown up, if it's a disaster, okay. Like I'm ready for that. And I'm frustrated, not because we lost, but because we should have won that game, and we easily could have, but it's just terrible quarterback play. Yeah. I mean, I hate to be the guy who's like, oh, it's all on the quarterback when we lose, but it's all on the quarterback that we lost this one. The defense was phenomenal. Again, the offensive line played fantastic for most of the game. They were running the ball well. The receivers were playing really well. I mean, everything was clicking, but Ben Bryant just played terrible football. I mean, on the first drive, so, Arkansas gets the ball first drive. Cincinnati gets the ball, stops them, gets the ball. They're driving down the field. And I don't know if you guys saw this interception, but Bryant was just like unbelievably late on some out route with no gas on the ball. I mean, the cornerback almost overran the ball because he was so early to jump it. And that took away a lot of momentum. And Arkansas scored 7 pretty much right away. Yeah. And then outside of that, I mean, once that play happened, Cincinnati was so scared to like just drop back and throw. They basically said, well, he can't do that, and we're not benching him because we made this whole big deal about Prater versus Bryant. And we're not going to go through one drive and be like, shit, we messed up. We're gonna go throw in Prater now. So right. They were doing like, I'm going to throw a screen, but then, there was hesitation on those screens, or they're going to do these little like rollouts with one read, so you don't have to look anywhere. And still somehow the timing on those were only okay. And Cincinnati, I mean, they stayed fighting in the game, and things picked up a little bit in the second quarter. But at the point, it was kind of a too little too late. And Bryant, I think in the second half, he may have missed 4 touchdowns. I mean, just guys wide open. Nobody in front of him. Just missed him. Just too far. Just gave him no chance at the ball. And if he can connect on one more of those, then they're in the money. He also had a really terrible fumble where he sat in the pocket for 5 seconds and let the ball up. And then, of course, there's the kicking. Cincinnati can't kick. They missed 2 field goals. It is what it is. That ninja tweet where he's like, hey, this is how hard can this be with the kicking? You could walk on. I mean, how many teams were there that just like Division I team, they cannot make a field goal. If they need to kick a field goal, they're screwed. They can't do it. Yeah. I don't know. I know it. I know it doesn't work like that, but it's so frustrating. So Arkansas is a better team. They won fair and square, but dude, I've never seen a team beat themselves like that so badly. If they had this exact team and Desmond Ridder, they win that game by 20.
Oh no, I completely. I mean, you only lost by 7.
All things considered, it's unbelievable. I mean, really, the rest of the team played fantastic.
I remember there was one play. I was performing at a house party last night, and every time like we were in between songs, I would go and check in on a game. Right, and it would either be the Miami, Kentucky game, or the Ohio State game, or the Cincinnati game. And when I went to check in on the Cincinnati game, I see this receiver running up on a seam route, and then all of a sudden the ball is like 5 yards like outside of his catch radius. I'm just like, what was his game? What was he thinking? What was his plan?
What was he thinking? No, it's just he just missed like he had a really easy short one that he just overthrew, and then he had about 4 or 5 deep shots that were easy touchdowns that he just totally missed. And the thing is that he kept missing them long, and there was never like the receiver couldn't adjust to the ball. There was no chance on him.
It was just too far.
He did hit one to that new transfer, I believe. It was about 40 yards, but going like 1 for 6 on those throws, it's like, dude, you got to get one more of those for us. So I wonder, I think Cincinnati plays an FCS school next week. We're going to see half Bryant, half Prater.
Well, I mean, you have to wonder, right? Yeah, it has to be nerves, right? That's my thing. Is like
that's what he said. I mean, it was at Arkansas. It was a big game
at Arkansas, right? And that's a big game to start off your season. So like, I can understand just being nervous, just being totally like, I don't know. So I can get that, and I think maybe next week it's just all Ben Bryant. And maybe you just see like in an easier environment, can he get his shit together? And then maybe you just build some confidence off of that. But if he's bad next week, no excuses.
If he's bad next week, no excuses. Here's the thing. He's kind of got a nice little ramp up with the out-of-conference play. So we got FCS and we got Miami of Ohio, then we got Indiana. If he is not turned it around by that Indiana game, he has to be out of there.
That should be 3-0.
Also, to be clear, Evan Prater, the guy sitting behind them, is the best recruit in school history. I mean, so I don't know. I'm frustrated. It's not the end of the world. If they win out, I think they'll still be, they can win the AAC. Absolutely no question. And they can maybe make a New Year's Six bowl if they win out. They can be a 12th ranked team by the end of the year. Might need a little help, but and they weren't making the playoffs this year regardless. So I'm not crushed about that.
What are you guys ranked right now? 23? Right?
23. We'll be just outside, but we can 10 weeks to work your way back up.
Right. Okay.
But they have to actually win out, and I'm not confident that's going to happen. If you watch football, you need Fubo TV. Fubo TV gives you complete coverage of college and pro football with NFL Red Zone, plus games in 4K and no extra charge. Over 100 channels of live sports and entertainment for a fraction of the price of cable. Watch on all your devices and never miss a game or an episode of your favorite shows with the included cloud-based DVR. Plus, there's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. Right now, you can try Fubo TV for free for 7 days and get 15% off your first month. Just go to FuboTV.com/stayhot. That's FUBOTV.com/stayhot.
Sometimes I forget that like TV is 2 letters and not just like a word.
What does that mean?
I'm just thinking like Fubo TV, but then you spelled out FUBO TV, and it's like TV, but it's,
I see what you're saying. I agree. I agree.
You see how that's like? You're like, oh, you just said TV again.
TEEVEE. I don't know.
TE. Well, right? it's just short for television.
Yeah.
So they should be Fubo Television. That's what it should be called. But
the other college football things, I just want to say, like, Anthony Richardson moves me. That's kind of my other big takeaway from the last weekend of games is Anthony Richardson. And I'm going to do my next all 22 on kind of the first round prospects and sort out exactly what I think about all of them going into the year. But Anthony Richardson, I was like, let me sign up for some discount Cam Newton.
I was about to say last time a Florida quarterback moved anything like that, he ended up being a Carolina Panther, and I would not be mad if it went that route again.
Hey, you have Matt Corral. Don't talk about
it. Matt Corral is not doing that. Okay,
it's over.
Matt Corral is not doing that. Anthony Richardson moves me. That's kind of my takeaway. Yeah, that's the other big storyline. Obviously, Georgia looks, like a juggernaut. Bryce Young in Alabama, they look like a juggernaut.
Dude, Georgia's defensive line just killed Oregon, dude.
Jalen Carter is so scary. He's like all of the players on last year's defensive line kind of like put together.
Who is Darnell Washington? Is that the
tight end?
He's like the Bruce Bowers. Bruce Bowers is like the best tight end, and then like their third string tight end is like this 6'8" like freak athlete.
I look up and I just see him like hurdle some dude, and like he's ridiculous. That's an awesome team.
Kirby Smart said after that game, he's like, much respect to the Oregon head coach, but he knows we've got better players. He knows that. He won't say it, but he knows that. That's what he said. He's like, they really fought. Bo Nix is sadly not him, but yeah, I didn't have much to say besides like I'm feeling it with Anthony Richardson. All right, like everyone else. That's not even a hot take after what he did last, but he was someone who intrigued me even before, and then like I saw that, I was like, all right. Sign me up. I'm sipping the Kool-Aid. Also, USC, Lincoln Riley's USC put up like 66 points. It was on Rice, though, so we'll see.
Yeah, dropping 60 is dropping 60. Like, come on.
Dropping 60 is dropping 60. Caleb Williams look good. It'll be them I can't wait until them and ASU square off in the Pac-12 championship game because Oregon and Utah are apparently fraudulent. So, yeah they are. Those are kind of my other takeaways. I don't have much like in-depth analysis, and I'm just kind of playing narrative ball here, but yeah,
that's how it is. All right, we have a rank it from the chalkboard. Wish you guys go ahead and join the chalkboard. We're gonna talk about the 4 seasons. All right, so how do we want to do this? Just like 1 through 4, 4 through 1, or 4 to 1? Do you want to rank worst to best, best to worst?
The best season, I'll start. Okay. There's 2 tiers. There's fall and summer, and then there's winter and spring. Like fall and summer. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I might rank fall number 1 these days because it used to be football. There's football happening, and I don't got school anymore, and football is my job. And I see these TikToks about these people with the Sunday night scaries where they're like, me watching the Sunday night game knowing I still have homework to do and it's Monday tomorrow. My biggest flex, our biggest flex, I don't care if it's Sunday night because tomorrow I don't got shit to do.
I'm doing the same thing.
I'm talking about the game. That's my only thing that I've got to do. I watch Sunday night football. I don't get any Sunday scaries.
I got some work done today if I watch the game all the way through. Yeah.
Monday's my day off. Sunday night's my work night. So, Sunday, the fact that is my reality puts maybe the brisk fall weather and the football and, just the general like vibes of fall, the changing of the color, all of that. Like that might put fall number 1 for me. You can get better outfits off because it's not hot outside. I wear sweaters all the time anyway, but I can do it comfortably in fall. So I might move fall up to number 1 now that summer breaks aren't really a reality to me. But summer is number 2. And if you hate summer and you think summer sucks, you better be north of Oklahoma. Because if you are in Arizona or Florida, I get it, but you're not really a seasonal state. If you're from like Minnesota or the Pacific Northwest or New England or the Midwest and you think summer is the worst one, you need to get your brain checked because that's number 2. And then I'll put winter number 3 because the Christmas season rocks. And then spring is number 4. It's just like everything's melty and dead. And it's nice that it's going to be summer soon, but on its own, I would never want to live in a place where it's just spring all the time. It's just snow is melted, grass is brown, and it's cold and hot and tornado-y.
I'm torn about putting spring below winter. And my problem is that I hate the cold. I cannot stand the cold.
Yet you want to live in Cleveland your whole life.
It does make no sense, Blade.
It does make no sense.
Understandable, right? But what if I had a house in Cleveland and a house in like LA, and then I can get box seats to Browns games, and then I don't have to deal with the cold?
Well, when do the Browns play?
No.
It ain't summer, Bladen. It's not summer.
They're not playing in March, Bladen.
They're not playing in June.
That does it for this episode of Stay Out. No, summer's number one for me, because I am still in school. But also I love the heat. I thrive in the heat. We're in Vegas, and I'm just basking.
I
in the
still
sun.
think you're not basking in the sun. You weren't basking in the sun. We were inside. We were in the pool. We had a pool. You don't know. This is my Arizona take. This is my gatekeepy Arizona take. It's like Blaine, like, oh, I love the heat so much when we're just Ubering around in air conditioned cars, and we've got a pool and we've got like a resort that we're like working
my
in.
My privilege is showing.
Your privilege is showing, you know, like you didn't actually have to walk anywhere or get in a hot car.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can say that yet.
Okay. That's a reasonable take.
Some people hate even Midwest summers and think it's too hot. And then I'm like, whoa, what are you guys talking about?
I want it 70 degrees.
I'm like, if it's like 90 degrees in Ohio, I'm fucking happy.
Yeah, that's all right.
So
that's all right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
summer's number one.
I think it's a tough one because I think I like fall better, but I think summer is more of like you made it. You're there. You made it through the terribleness of winter and spring, and now it's summer. But I guess that's not really fall's fault. Like when you get to fall, it's like, well, I just had summer. Summer's pretty good.
The end of fall gets docked because it's almost winter. The end of summer doesn't get docked because then it's just fall.
But the beginning of summer gets docked,
which is why it's a tier.
But the beginning of summer gets docked because it's just after spring.
Well, are we considering summer June 21st to September?
No, June is summer. All of June is summer. Let's be
all
clear.
of September is fall. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, so June, July, August.
Let's go
June, July,
real
August.
People.
That's summer.
Not
September
scientists.
on September to what? September, October, November is fall.
Yes, we know the season. We know summer when we see it.
Fall when I see it.
For all when we ranked holidays, which of you had Halloween?
Hi, I fucking love Halloween.
So that's
awesome.
part of why you're gonna have fall so high. You have Halloween and Thanksgiving.
No, my birthday's in the summer, so I'm.
My birthday's in the winter.
What is your guys' ranking? What are we talking about?
I think it's so blatant. Like that's got to be awesome. Like it's your birthday, but then it's also the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's my birthday and the Super Bowl.
My
same
birthday
day.
falls on the Super Bowl every 7 years. On my 11th, 18th, and then on my 25th birthday, it will be
sweet. And the Browns will make that one.
Yes, they will.
Awesome.
If the Browns win the Super Bowl on my birthday, I will have nothing else I need in life. That will complete my life entirely. But
even if Watson's the quarterback.
We'll deal with that if we get there. We'll deal with that if we get there. But summer number one, fall number two. I think, winter does have my birthday and Christmas. I have to put it like above spring, and then spring's last, I guess. But it does have the draft. No, spring's last.
The draft does not do much for me in terms of
it doesn't.
Oh.
It doesn't. I tried to
dude,
justify.
Honestly, draft season gives me a headache, dude. Like it just takes forever. You're talking about the prospects for 5 months, dude. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
The NBA is great. It's done. They do it in like a week.
The draft could be about...
Honestly? Okay.
The draft could be about a month earlier than it is.
Can we make an argument for winter being above fall? Right?
No.
I might be able to, right? Because I have class in the fall and in the spring. I don't have class in the winter. I have a 6-week winter break. 6-week winter break. Christmas.
You don't have class in like February?
I don't have class for like all of January. I have like a month and a half of no class in the winter.
All right.
Christmas,
Yeah, I mean, if
my
if you're in
birthday, Super Bowl, and a 6-week winter break, that's pretty elite. If it wasn't cold, that's so elite. And you get like the NFL playoffs. It's I don't know.
Yeah, depends on how much you like your classes. Because here's the thing: at least when I was in high school,
Yeah.
like I kind of liked being in school. That might be a hot take.
It's not even that I don't like it. It's just like
You liked what?
it's work.
I liked being in school,
Like being in
School was-
school? I get
yeah.
it. I think you could get a little
especially
bored.
high school. I had more fun in school than in like maybe even out of school.
I don't
Looking
know.
back on it, I had a lot of fun at school. Honestly,
I
That's
don't
maybe a bad
dislike
take,
my
but-
classes. It's just like it can
Hot
be
take
work
here.
sometimes.
School's
when I
fun.
have-
school is fun.
Stay in
is
school,
fun.
kids.
Stay in school, unlike us who dropped out. But anyway,
Hey,
yeah.
who would have
So
thought
I think
the
the
college
consensus
dropout would be trying to keep kids in school?
just stay in school until you can get a job as a sports podcaster. All right, but yeah, I think the general consensus is summer and fall tier 1,
Yeah.
spring and winter tier 2. That's how I feel
there,
about
there can
it.
there can be the exception, I think, if where winter could sneak in. But-
Yeah, I agree. If with the huge winter break and all the sports, and I really do love the holiday season. I love
Yeah.
the month of December. The month of December is a great month. I love
is.
December. January and February, horrible times. That
Don't talk about my birth month like that, man.
Why are you born in February, dude? Everyone I know is born in like August.
I'm sick of
or
it.
the summer. February. I've never met anyone else born in the month of February.
You'll never meet You'll never
You're
meet anyone
different,
like
man.
me, man. I'm
Well,
different.
that makes sense. There's the fewest days in February. It's the rarest month to be born in.
Yes.
Yeah. Statistically speaking, look at Matt should be a math minor.
I should be a math minor.
Yeah, just like me.
I don't know why I didn't get that for a second. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about?
Fake friend, man.
No,
But yeah, I think we have a pretty clean.
that's got to
consent.
do it.
Yeah,
That's got to do it.
no.
Welcome. Thank you for another. Thank you. Not welcome. Thank you for listening. Next time we'll talk about the real football, the NFL, and none of this college bullshit. Yeah.
That NCAA
Oh.
sponsorship out the window now. No,
I don't think they do that. I don't think they
I don't
sponsored
know.
by
The Stay Hot Bowl is
the Stay Out Bowl is
all of it
canceled.
done.
But as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be back with some more football chatting soon enough. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.